Right, so we're going to go over 10 pieces which I kind of recommend that everyone just keep an eye out for. So, there I was watching Aliens vs Predator, and no, I don't mean a priest fighting a Mexican, although I would 100% pay to see that. I do literally mean the AVP movie, not this. Though why it was live streaming on Kim Kardashian's OnlyFans is a different subject matter entirely. But it got me thinking, a lot of the best in slot pieces, or like some of the most powerful pieces that we utilise in a variety of different builds, are typically the same. So I thought I would just come up with a list really for you guys to ponder over, of things just to keep an eye out for that may help you either immediately or further down the line. So at first, let's get the obvious out of the way: Contractors, Gloves and Fox's Prayer. Now typically the most prominent roles we have on these, as you can see I've left mine at attribute 2 vacant. Typically we go for headshot, skill damage or critical hit damage. One I actually learned not too long ago from our Lord and Saviour Rousey is that if you find yourself needing to fill in critical hit chance by putting crit chance on either Foxes or Contractors, typically you would be better off just subbing one of them out for a Cesca piece. So yeah. Up next is going to be a heavily contested one, but Ferocious Calm for perfect Overwatch with skill damage, skill haste, or just something a bit more supporty so that you could utilise it as a skill build, just so that you kind of force yourself in cover more prominently. Although this isn't going to be one of the largest buffs, when paired with things like Future Initiative, it can be pretty damn powerful, especially if you are running Future Initiative on the Ferocious Calm build. It gives you a maximum buff of 27% total weapon damage and total skill damage, and if your allies do take cover, they're still left with 12%, or if you get up, they're still left with 15%. It's a very versatile piece that you're able to use in a variety of different situations. Cesca gang, Cesca gang, Cesca gang, Cesca gang, Cesca gang. That took me like 9 takes to do, so you better be clapping. Cesca pieces are incredibly powerful. Typically mod rolls as well as attribute rolls only come with 6% critical hit chance. Weapon attachments are 5. Other than our watch, which is also 10%, Cesca offers us the largest buff to critical hit chance in the game. This is very useful for a lot of gear sets, and it can also be quite prominent in just many high-end sets. As well as typically as well, a lot of builds tend to round out after like 4 or 5 pieces, as long as you've got like a decent chest and backpack synergy going on, in conjunction obviously with the mask, because we do have a lot of prominent mask pieces. But if you do have a build where you're like, yeah, I'm not too certain about this one piece, try swapping it out for a Cesca and just see what happens. You never know, you might like it. Now, this one's going to be quite controversial because at the moment, as it stands, this is probably one of the best as well as one of the hardest backpacks to actually get. These backpacks are beyond useful. Getting a skill haste status effect with Creeping Death, Golem backpack, so you can change the core to a skill tier, are pretty much a god tier level backpack. However, with the new Electrique set coming out, I'm hoping I've pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I don't give a fuck. But hopefully it will make the use of this a little bit more widely known, but obviously a lot more easier to farm, simply just because Electrique is dropping with a skill tier natively, and the first set or brand bonus is obviously still 10% status, effectively meaning one piece Golem and one piece Electrique are going to do the exact same thing, but where Golem drops with a blue core, Electrique drops with a skill tier, it's going to become infinitely easier and more comfortable to farm. As it stands at the moment, this backpack kind of is just sort of bragging rights for the vast majority of the community that don't really understand or how to use it, which is many sads on my part. Up next we have Grupo, typically gloves, knees or holster. Obviously, mask is an option, but if you find yourself wanting or needing a Grupo mask and you don't have an exotic in yet, Coyotes will always outperform Grupo, like sheer bust. Now again, pretty similar vein as to Cesca, the one piece giving us an extra 15% in critical hit damage. However, the two piece is of a pretty decent use as well. Not saying 10% Hasbro isn't, but typically you will find more uses for your 10% explosive damage. Now admittedly, it will require you getting unicorns of these pieces, but it is typically well worth the grind, especially if you can get an absolute god tier mortar build. Improvised. Now I'm going to be going over Improvised a little bit more in depth in another video, so I'm not going to go too far into good or bad things with them in this. However, with improvised pieces, because every single piece offers you another mod slot, adding in a mask with a mod slot, a chest with a mod slot, and a backpack, which also has a mod slot, you're able to get 6 extra rolls effectively on a build, which does make some builds, like the utilization of PFE builds, very prominent and very powerful. Now we have what I like to consider a hidden gem. I'm pretty sure this was talked about quite a lot when it first came out, although I don't know if a lot of newer players will know about this, but the TDI Custom, literally just having this in your hand, annoyingly just having it on your build doesn't do it. You literally have to get it out of the holster and hold it in your hand, will give you +1 skill tier. Now imagine, if you will, you get a Ferocious holster, change the blue core to yellow, equip another Brazos piece, mask for example, and then just put Technician on. Through 2 armor pieces, 1 weapon and your specialization, you are now at skill tier 4. This can be pretty damn powerful. The utilization and implementation of the TDI Custom was the first ever notion of hybrid builds, and yet it's mostly been phased out. However, it does allow you to do some absolutely wondrous things. I quite like running things like revive hives, not typically for me, but for allies. However, I do also like having a revive hive for me, just in case. If an ally does go down, swap to my pistol, drop the revive hive, it will pick them up, and I'm still left with 1 charge for little old lonely me, just in case. Typically, I would argue, if you have no desire to run an exotic pistol, such as Regulus, Liberty, or anything else, the card TDI Custom is generally pretty damn best in slot. It also has, like, on paper, the highest DPS of non-Regulus pistols, and in practice it's like 3rd or 4th depending on your accuracy. Could also still be 2nd if you are an absolute god tier Chad. Now we have a bit of a weird one, both preservation and future perfect on your favourite weapon, or whatever weapon you would like. I see a lot of people say that they'd have absolutely no issues with damage. They're able to kill quite a lot of things pretty damn easily, but they haven't gotten quite used to the mechanics of the game yet, and they tend to go down or die a lot. These are, in terms of keeping as much DPS as possible, your best options. Preservation, 10% armor on kill, adding gunner, that's 20 if you get a headshot, that's 30% armor on kill. Future perfect allows you to get up to skill tier 3, adding in things like the chem healer, or a restorer hive, or even just a little fixer drone. You can get some serious healing out of these. These are some of the best utility talents, or even skills, bar none, in the game, and I do feel they are incredibly slept on, and I kind of feel like I need to do more videos on just these 2 weapons, just to kind of give it a little bit of perspective. This is a build I'm currently working on: Tar TDI Custom, Punch Drunk, Brazos Backpack, Cesca Chest, Contractors, Foxes, Ferocious Holster. This is effectively 6 red cores and 6 yellow cores. Kind of sounds fun. That's just me though. Right, we're on the last 2, and I've not done these by any means in any sort of particular order. However, I will say I have left the best 2 till last, so if you've not really been paying in that much attention, I would ask you now to kind of. So the first one is going to be Cesca with talents, and by this I mean basically just the chest and the backpack. Obviously these are going to be more prominent in DPS roles, so crit chance, crit damage are going to be your best bets, but I would argue that whatever you go for, either chest or backpack, try and get it with the actual roles you want, just because this way it allows you to change out the talent. So if you get a Cesca chest, try and get, for example, because it's a DPS, crit chance, crit damage, and then you can play around with Obliterate, Overwatch, Glass Cannon, Headhunter, if you're crazy. You just get to play around with it and then just test and adjust what you like about each talent and what you feel more comfortable with. Same with the Cesca backpack. Again, it's mostly going to be used on DPS, so crit chance, crit damage are going to be your best bet. And then for talents, best in slot is generally considered to be vigilance, but try unstoppable force. You never know. Try composure. And then, just because I am an absolute cop out, pretty much the exact same again for the exact same reasoning, but with Grupo. And hopefully, depending on how you have these set up and what it is you're doing, you can go for the ultimate combination, which is just quite simply 1 Cesca, 1 Grupo. This is literally, as it stands, 10% crit chance and 15% critical hit damage. It's actually wildly amazing how many people just don't implement these into some of their builds, and the end results tend to be just a little bit crazy. Now, one of the main things I would actually recommend throughout all of this is going to be, and this is genuinely something I do, but I try and get at least 1 Cesca and 1 Grupo chest with an interchangeable talent, and 1 Cesca and 1 Grupo backpack with an interchangeable talent per character. I've got 4 characters, so I literally have 2 of each of these on each character. And honestly, just the amount of builds that they are just randomly slotted into to either make up some extra crit damage or make up some extra crit chance. They might not necessarily be the absolute best in slot, but I find they make my builds so much more comfortable, and that is genuinely what I want for you guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.